Welcome back. My name is Kit.
My name is Madison.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things, streaming Yellowjackets. This time it's episode 2 of season 3, Dislocation. As we warned you, if you listen to episode 1, we watched and recorded these episodes separately. So most of you probably just went ahead and watched them back to back and you were listening to us just yap on in episode 1. Like, that's not what happens. Well, now we know. Now we know. You're listening to this on Monday, so every Yellowjackets episode from here on out will drop on Monday. So if you're watching on Paramount Plus with Showtime, you probably have access on Fridays. You just got to wait through the weekend and listen to our Arcane and Game of Thrones and Severance stuff to get you through until Mondays. That's what we're going to do. Also, if you're new to the show, you're going to be real confused, but old hats know sometimes this happens. We had like a crazy rainstorm last night that morphed through divine intervention, I'm guessing, I'm not sure how weather works, into a snowstorm. Oh. And so we're recording remotely for our safety, for the safety of our co-hosts, We don't
want to, for example, we wouldn't want to hop on a plane and fly to the studio and then the plane crashes and we land in the Canadian wilderness. That would be obviously not good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean,
Kentucky.
I'm down. I like to party.
But also Kentucky wilderness? That's even worse.
Not only are we doing this remotely, but we're testing out a new thing where the software we use to do our remote recording allows us to do some live streaming. So some people are streaming the podcast live as we record, and there's a chat and everything, and it's really, really fun. So hello, everyone that's in that chat.
Hi, everybody.
Who's in there?
We got Casey, East Gramo, Elpander, Jim's in there. Those are the people that have commented. I can't quite see a full list of people, but
Steve's like my mom, Andy's neighbor. What's her name?
Tessa. What up, Tessa?
Andy, did you eat my fruitcake?
She didn't give me one this year.
What a bitch.
I know. She totally heard us.
So episode 2 of Yellowjackets, I think what we're going to do is overall thoughts and then a scene-by-scene, play-by-play recap and review, and we'll cap it all off with a few fun little categories, little games. We got our choice cuts, our top 3 favorite moments of the episode, of course. The Honeycombs, which is typically like our Easter eggs or lore segment. Again, as we said last time with this show, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense anymore, but we're still going to do it because lots of our show doesn't. And then buzzworthy performance. Our favorite performance of the episode will be nominated by each of the 4 of us. That's how we'll end it. Last time we talked a lot about, it was very clear and intentional that people just binge the first 2 episodes right away, that they act together as a premiere for this season is what we surmised. And I think I found that to be true. I'm wondering what you guys think when we get into overall thoughts. If you are much more excited now that you've finished the sex, it's not the sex, you're not done with that yet. The second episode. Now that you guys have finished the sex, what do you think of the show?
Let me light a cigarette and I'll tell you.
Showtime and chill.
And by the way, why didn't you finish that before we started recording? Anyway, Madison, I'm so curious about your thoughts on episode 2.
Well, after the sex, no. I like this episode. I think episode 2 alone is fine, but I think episode 1 needs episode 2. But I mean, they do work really nice together. But overall, I had fun with this episode. I liked the interesting groups. I feel like we've been getting a lot of like interesting combination of characters within the first 2 episodes. Like Misty, Lottie, and Callie being together is very strange. But I thought those scenes were entertaining. The very ending of this episode was wild. Oh my goodness. But it definitely, as I'm sure the purpose of the episode is, to get me really excited for the rest of the season. I found myself after finishing this episode to immediately want to jump into episode 3. So that's a good sign for me, a good tell that I'm ready to be back and to watch the rest of what we got going on. So
awesome, Andy.
Yeah, I thought that it was a good episode, but it did feel like a setting us up episode, as episode 1 did as well. So it left me wanting for sure, but I enjoyed what we got. But I'm ready for them to kind of get into the meat of the season. It was a very trippy episode with lots of doing drugs, and that's fun. But I do think that it had a little bit of a dearth of action for sure. But I enjoyed it, but I'm ready for more.
And Steve, how are you feeling sitting there thinking about these jackets?
I'm wondering how they're going to look on me. How can I buzz in them? Am I buzzing? No. So I have a little section in my notes called overall thoughts, and my overall thought note is just an interesting episode. And that's mostly because, like, I don't really think the hook of this episode, I agree with Madison, like this episode works in and by itself, but episode 1 needs this one. So it made sense that they're paired together. However, in my opinion, the way this episode ended, they're trying to hook me, but they didn't get me hooked. I was like slightly intrigued, but I wasn't like, ooh, can't wait to watch the next episode. I was kind of like, all right, I'll wait till next week, whatever.
Hashtag Steve's trying to be hooked.
Always 24/7. I really appreciate the Shauna Melissa thing of it all at the very, very end. That was sort of like the injection of juice that the show needed, because to be honest, until that happened, I was kind of like, I was really kind of like, man, this is not going anywhere fast, because my other notes is like, I love Misty. I love Walter. What are they doing with half of the adult? What are they doing with all of the adult characters? It seems like most of them are just kind of languishing in this hell of uninteresting. We don't know what to do with them. Like every time Walter's on screen, I can just hear the writers like, what do we do with Walter? We don't know. And as much as I love Misty, like she's my favorite person, adult Misty, Christina Ricci is my favorite character on the show. I'm starting to get worried that she's like a Captain Jack Sparrow character, in that we all love Captain Jack Sparrow. Like the first Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, we love Captain Jack Sparrow. But then 3 movies later, he's the main protagonist, and those movies suck because that character works as a side character, not the main one. And so I'm a little bit worried, because in my mind, I'm like, why don't they just make the story about Misty? But then I thought, you can't do that because that's not that type of character. Anyway, I do have a lot of concerns about the season going in. Now, again, the Shauna Melissa of it all, I'm very intrigued by. I kind of wish Melissa was a bigger character up until this episode. But I'm also intrigued by the Coach Ben Mari relationship as well, like that predicament that he's in and who is he talking to. That stuff is very, very interesting to me. So I'm still interested in where it's going. But like, if I'm being honest, there are some early signs that this season is going to suffer from what the previous season suffered from, which was a lack of direction and just stretching out storylines that aren't necessarily very interesting. But that's just me. Kit, what did you think?
I think I agree for the most part with your assessment. I would have never guessed, if you had told me a year and a half ago or whenever the last time we talked about the show was, that like Coach Ben would be one of my most juicy storylines that I want to know what's going on there. I would have been like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? You're out of your mind. But I agree with you. Like the Coach in the Cave is super interesting. And I love everything that's going on with the 1996 timeline. I guess it's 97 now. The older timeline, which has always been more interesting, is just like the only thing carrying me through right now. But like you said, like we finally got some juice with Melissa and Shauna with like the knife kiss at the end. Mm-hmm. But that was like so juicy. Like the show is fucking ridiculous. It's so melodramatic. They've completely lost the plot. And it's kind of awesome. And I hope they just get fucking weirder and more dramatic for no reason and just keep me invested from like a tease standpoint. Because I don't think they have 5 seasons of plot. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to go well. I really am kind of aghast that they're going to go for a couple more years. But I'll fucking watch, you know? But as soon as like the way the second episode ended, I was like, okay, let's go. The next episode right now. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I knew Madison and I were going to be on the same page on that. I wasn't sure how you guys were going to react.
Well, I watched the episode on, I think Tuesday, maybe Monday or Tuesday. So like I watched it way before anybody else. And I just was like sitting with that information for a minute. And I was like, oh guys, please watch this.
She's a girl kisser and there's knives.
Wow.
Wow. Is it sharp?
Is it a pirate knife? Do you think? I think it's a pirate knife.
Plain, you think?
It's giving dark romance, and I'm here for it. But yeah, I am concerned that they really just don't know what to do with a lot of the characters. I think the whole Melissa and Hilary Swank thing is really going to speed things up, juice things up. If those are the same character, I still think that that's the case. We got some good emails about how they typically change the eye color with contacts to match. And if you look at the trailer, they clearly haven't done that with Hilary Swank. So for that reason, the person doesn't think it's Melissa. That's fair. I still don't see where else they could go with that. And it makes the most sense the way they're setting this up, that the new adult would be Melissa. Because that would like...
What if it's Coach Ben?
Honestly, that'd be pretty sick.
Like a Boys Don't Cry reference or something?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable too. I do think this episode was really funny, but yeah, I just don't understand how they're going to do like another 3 or 4 years of this. Andy, you're new to Yellowjackets. I have a couple questions for you. How old do you think the actor who plays Callie is?
How old do I think the actor is? I would guess 24.
She's 29.
29, dang.
I think she's 30 now.
Maybe.
Wow.
How old do you think Travis is?
22?
He's like 34.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I think the younger cast member is
Sophie Thatcher, right?
Sophie Thatcher, who's 24.
Mm-hmm.
All of the other ones are older.
Wow.
So Lottie, played by Courtney Eaton, is I think 29. Sophie Nélisse is 26, I think 27. Yeah, and then Jasmine Savoy Brown, she's 30 years old. So they're all older.
This is quickly turning into like Grease. We got a bunch of dudes that look like me playing high school seniors.
But I will say they all can pretty convincingly look like 18 years old to me.
Yeah. The young cast, I've never questioned their age and been like, oh, you're not a high schooler. So, I mean, that's fine, but that could change over the next 2 years or however many years.
That's what I was getting at. Like, if we get to a season 5, it's just going to be like Gandalf being like, I'm Travis. You shall not pass, bro. But I'm in. Like I said, if they just keep getting more and more fucking ridiculous, I'll do it. But I don't like what they're doing with Misty and Walter right now. Like I think Steve was kind of alluding to it. I think I'm getting what you're putting down, and like this whole bit with, I don't know. He could be a bad actor. Like he could have some, like, because it's like giving isolate and manipulate vibes at the same time as like, he's also very right though, that none of them have ever been kind to her. And maybe he is like being sincere and trying to help, but it's like, just have them solve a case and be murderous sociopaths together. That's what I want. I don't want this.
I think Steve had a good point where like she could turn into a one-note character over time if she continues to say who she is, and the type of arc that she would need to have to stay interesting is to develop some kind of self-awareness. And so I think that Walter could be serving the role of kind of leading her into that to help her recognize, like, look, these people aren't your friends. Like, none of them like you. They use you. And, you know, he's saying what she needs to hear. But it does suck because I do want more. I want, you know, Sherlock Holmes and Watson. You know, I mean, I want that. But what she needs to stay interesting is what he's saying.
By the way, stupid thought before we get into the recap, which we desperately need to do, I'm aware. I was unaware, like I never processed this when I'm watching any movie or show, but like it hit me how short Christina Ricci is, because I have met Elijah Wood a few times, and he's a smaller guy, and he was like towering over Christina Ricci in that scene. And I was like, no fucking way, dude. And then later when she's on like the kitchen counter, like reorganizing the cabinet, but like she looked like it's like she fit up there so well. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to Google it.
Get the toddler off.
She's 5'1".
Oh my God.
I mean, I've seen the promotional photos of like all of the cast on the red carpet, and there was a recent group photo, and I noticed that Christina Ricci, they put her in the back, which is or not the back, it was like the side, but there was someone like adjacent, right? There was someone like adjacently in front of her, but she was like, her head was just barely popping out of the side of the group. She's so small.
Got to put her in the front. Well, let's get into the meat of dislocation. What actually went down in this episode? You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Before we do that, though, let's take 1 second to hear a word from one of our sponsors. This episode of Streaming Things is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's time for a new year, new me. That's what everybody says, right? What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. You are the writer. And so maybe this year you're ready for a plot twist, a Shyamalan twist. Maybe there's a part of your story you've been wanting to revise. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. We know the gyms are crowded in January and they're pretty much open by March. Let's not be that person. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. So think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create meaningful stories you deserve to live. When I talk to somebody about my wants, my fears, my hopes, my dreams, my traumas, I feel like I can get clarity on my goals, what it is I'm actually trying to achieve. So give BetterHelp a try. If you've never tried therapy before, it's a really great start to this journey. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. There's a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. You can easily switch therapists at any time and at no extra cost if things aren't working out. So write your own story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/streamingthings today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/streamingthings. And we're back. Let's get into the recap of everything that went down in this episode. It starts in the past, right where we left off with Mari in the pit. She's finna be in the pit, and she's in there. You know, she bought those tickets.
She waited
in line all night for Coach Ben Pitt. That didn't sound good. And she's in there now.
Dislocated her fucking knee.
She did. We got a little bit of body horror. She's screaming for help. The coach, he rolls up like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he's so shocked, like, why would I kill you? You guys are so fucked up. Calm down. You know what I mean? Which is, we thought Ben kind of went feral, but he's still like that, like, stop with the murder.
For 1 second. Jesus Christ.
Which I appreciate. I thought her leg was broken, but it's just the kneecap is fucking dislocated.
Ugh.
This really got to me. I'm not super squeamish with the body horror stuff, but this was effective. I was like, it was unpleasant, and I like the way Coach handled it. Like later, he's like, "I can't help you, so you got to do this." You know, I can't remember if they handle it here before. Yeah, it's like she's got to push, she's got to bear down, if you will.
Bear down.
Bear down.
And we've got a lot of doctors in the chat. Maybe they can comment on this, but I don't know if this would have worked quite well. But I guess because he was a coach, he had like some field medicine. You know, he seemed to know what he was talking about.
Yeah, he's seen a dislocated knee for soccer before, I'm sure.
Yeah, soccer's rough. Mm-hmm. This happens. He's like, you got to push on the left, straighten the leg, and don't be a bitch. That's what you got to do.
So in the chat, Casey says he handled it well. I mean, it would work, but she may tear some shit.
Like ligaments, you think? And my next note is no fucking way Shauna is actually digging up her baby.
Yes, she is.
I thought that was I was expecting it to be a dream. Does she do that? Are we supposed to take that she does that every now and then?
No, I think that she was just getting the baby out of the snow because she couldn't bury the baby before because the ground was frozen. So she needed to give it a real burial.
I took it as she was relocating the baby because she didn't want the others to be
praying over it.
Yeah, or like doing a sacrificial something around the baby. Yeah. She wanted to have a more sacred spot where it could maybe just be her and the baby and only she know about it. That's how I took it.
I love the theory that you pose, Chris, where she sometimes will dig up the baby like, hey, bud, just checking in. You still dead?
You still sleeping?
Mommy loves you.
She like fake burps it.
It was definitely like their little cemetery, right? Like it's been spring for a little while, I think. And they had like the little graves there.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's only 3. It's Javi, Jackie, and then the baby. And I'm like, I know that there's another gravesite. I know that there's another gravesite where there's several other people.
The plane crash victim?
I was going to say, on the beach, they just have like a ring of flowers set up with like a cross and like a photo of the bear. Not Laura Lee.
Yeah. But But it's interesting that it's just those 3 graves. But I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, I think Madison's right. She's taken the baby away from that campsite because, you know, that's her baby, and she hates the fact that everyone sort of made her child into part of this cult experience, and she's very anti the cult at the moment.
She is, but also she's like fully a very violent person. And
she's awful. If I was there, I'd be like, we need to kill her and eat her. She sucks.
But she's the one that preps all their food.
No mercy.
Andy.
She's not the only one that knows her way around a knife. Like, come on.
I think she is, like, ostensibly in the show. Like, she's the one that can clean the carcasses and stuff. They always give it to her.
Melissa just only started her apprenticeship this week. So, yeah.
And since when can Jen, you know, there's some new skills, but nobody's got Shauna's job yet. But the crew in the past discusses where Mari might be. And Natalie's like, I'm going to go look for her. She picks Shauna to volunteer with her, but Shauna declines. Like, fuck Mari. I hope she's dead. I hope she's in a pit. And Coach Ben hops up and they're like, that's outlandish. And she's like, I don't care. That's what I hope happens. And Misty's like in the back, like, I'll go the whole time. And she's trying not to pick her.
Ooh, me. Pick me.
I pick Shauna.
I love how Nat eventually has to take Misty because no one else volunteers. And as they walk away, Van and Ty are like, let's go on our own.
Yeah. Van and Ty, well, we find out later that Taissa does not like Natalie's leadership. So that's partially why she wants to go on her own little mission there. And Travis is like, hey, I still know these trees like the back of my hand. I'll go. And whoa.
Lottie's like, hang on, we got business to take care of first.
Wait, we got more important shit to do, like drugs.
The back of my left hand. I see the front of my right more often. But Lottie's like, no, we need to get high. That's what we got to do. So we'll get more into that in a little bit. But back in the present, in 2021-ish, Jeff's trying to remind Shauna of some important work dinner that he has planned, and she very awkwardly tries to make an excuse to get out of it, which he calls her on, and she still continues on the excuse route. And then fucking Lottie is at the door. And this is the point in the show where I'm like, this isn't quite working for me, but if you want to get just super ridiculous, just go a couple of steps further and I'll be in. Because the idea that Lottie would be freed already, that Shauna and Jeff would even remotely entertain her being in the house with their daughter, it's all so ridiculous that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So just go a step further. You know what I mean? Like,
Lottie broke in and has been like living with them in the attic unbeknownst to them.
Lottie is posing as a high school student and she's at school with Callie. She hangs out there now and she goes to class.
Lottie is the new school counselor.
Yeah. I honestly think she could get a job as a guidance counselor.
That actress is probably the same age as Travis.
Have you given any thought to your future? Because I've seen it.
There's the darkness there. Your aura is dark.
Try these shrooms.
She calls her a goop sorceress, which I appreciated.
Oh, that was
the many streaming things goop jokes.
Isn't it wild to think about, like, in the first season, anytime Jeff was on screen, we'd be like, oh my God, this guy, he's such an idiot, get him off my screen. But then, like, fast forward to this season, you're like, yeah, why is no one listening to Jeff? That is the obvious thing to do.
Yeah, things have shifted to where Jeff is like the voice of reason, but also just like pretty fun to watch in general. And you kind of wish people would listen to Jeff more. Never thought I would say that. Things have really shifted.
Jeff almost makes Shauna more likable, in my opinion, because Shauna's parenting like thought process by herself is just like, what? Because she was encouraging of Callie to show her the video of her dumping guts on those like other girls, which is like not typical parenting, I guess. And so Jeff kind of like mellows Shauna out to a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, Jeff is great. We love having him around because he like chills Shauna out. But also Jeff doesn't really stand up to Shauna, especially during the dinner. Like Shauna's being so rude and is like on her phone and like, or like is objectively on her or rude. And like Jeff doesn't really say anything or like do anything. So he just kind of like lets her walk all over him too. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Well, they posit Shauna as like this kind of imposing, scary figure, even from the 1996 timeline, and that carries over. And Jeff's always kind of been more of a dumb pushover. But one of the things that doesn't work for me is they always put up Jeff's crimes with everyone else's. as like you tried to blackmail. So even though I've killed 6 people, I mean, we're the same. And Callie's like, well, Dad, you're a blackmailer. Mom eats people. Like, we're all crazy. And I'm like, let's back up a bit. Like, you know what I mean? It's not the same. They keep trying to bring that up. And I'm like, we need to let that go in light of everything else going on, I think. Mm-hmm. Poor Jeff over there just trying to make a little money. Just a little light blackmail every now and then. It's not even a big deal relatively. Mm-hmm. But Callie's the one that says Lottie should stay. And again, this was like I don't know what Callie's going through or what they're trying to do with her character. Not the biggest fan. None of this makes any sense to me, really. Because think about yourself at 17. You know what I mean? I don't think it would be remotely what's going on. I would have definitely been smoking the doob. That was the most relatable 17-year-old thing, was the doobies.
I think it makes sense. Like, Callie's discovered just how fucking crazy her family is, and when she got exposed to the cult stuff and she fucking shot somebody, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now she's like, I want some fucking answers, please. And she wants
Lottie there because she wants to grill her.
Yeah. And she wants to be part of the team with Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm. Plus, she's got a teardrop tattooed on her face now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she accuses her mom of having Karen energy.
Which that made me laugh.
That's pretty.
She resents.
Mm-hmm. Pretty big. But then continues to prove that she does have Karen energy throughout this episode.
Oh, it was a really fun callback at the end when she's like, oh, I need to speak to the manager. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Callie points out the family scorecard, and that's where she brings up, hey, you're a blackmailer, you're a murderer. Like, we can't really be real judgy. And she's homeless. We need to take her in. Jeff tries really hard to be the voice of reason. No way. But nobody listens to him, as we talked about. So he eventually gives in, and Shauna just tells Lottie, don't fuck this up, right? Van is pulling a Steve.
Hold on real quick. At one point when they kind of resolve the Lottie thing and they're like, okay, we're going to go to that. We're not missing that dinner, Shauna. Like, this is really important to me. It's like, Jeff, is it going to be a meeting with those guys who say it's not a hotel room, it's an experience? He's like, of course it is. That was super relatable for me because in my job, I've had to do like videos for hotels, and those people are everywhere. And they just nailed that. So funny.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Corporate America.
But Van is going full Steve. She's just laying on the couch, a little hungover, singing karaoke, having a good time.
She's singing Jamiroquai, dude. It's fucking fire.
They were at Lollapalooza.
Dude, I felt so fucking seen in that because I've been banging to that song for, not banging, but you know what I mean? Headbopping that every fucking line. Futures made up. That song's a fucking bop, dude.
So he's got interesting sex music choices.
I swear to God, I've been listening to Jamiroquai like all week, and then that pops up. I'm like, let's fucking go.
But she's feeling really guilty about the dining and dashing, and boy, does she have no idea how guilty she should feel. Yeah, but the whole time they're kissing. I really liked the energy during this scene. Like the role play was good, you know? It was pretty hot. They're doing the whole, it was very believable. Like, oh, maybe you're wearing a wire. You know, the frisk and search, it was all working. And the whole time I'm like, glass on the ground. Don't do it. Her stepping on that cup is in the opening title sequence. It's like there's a frame of the foot on the glass, which is a weird thing for that to be in there, but
very Tarantino coded.
And she insults Van by saying, in your condition, you should definitely go straight to the hospital, which I didn't clock that as a hospital thing. I was with Van on this one, you know? Do you guys think?
I mean, it looked like that was pretty deep in there. You know what I mean? If you can see the fucking bone, probably need some stitches.
I guess so. Well, she did go to urgent care. That's fair. I would have been tough. I would just drank whiskey and sat there and kept singing karaoke. Just me personally.
Put on Jamiroquai again.
Fuck yeah.
Apparently Van's a fucking savage troll because this is just something she does. Because Taissa is like, what have I told you about leaving your glassware just all over the ground? She's like, whatever, judgy. I'm like, yeah, that's like super fucked up. What is wrong with you?
What's the worst that could happen?
Couldn't handle that. But Shauna's calling Taissa. Taissa just gives her the hater button. It does not answer. We cut to Walter, who's bringing breakfast in bed to Misty. Lots of electrolytes, trying to clean up her hangover, clear her of that.
Powder salt, oopsie daisy tray, boopsie bacon.
Eggs over oopsie.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy bottoms up tonic.
And he's wondering if her drinking bout was, in fact, a call for help. And that's what he's accusing her of.
I love his delivery there. Consider it answered.
Yeah, quite literally. But at that point, Shauna calls Misty as well. And so we know from the scene with Taissa that she's the last on the list, at least most likely, but at least second. And Walter's really upset that she's going to go answer their call immediately for multiple reasons, but also just on Wednesdays, we clean Caligula's cage. That's our Wednesday activity, which sounds terrible. Have you guys ever had a bird?
Is he living with her?
No.
I have.
That's what I was wondering. Are they, have they moved in together?
I think he's just been lingering.
Just
because he's independently wealthy. Yeah, he's independently wealthy. So he's just hasn't left, which is starting to wear on Misty, which I don't think she's in a position to be judgy about that. She hasn't had a guest in the last 20 years. And now she's like, you're just clingy, And it's
You have a guest in your house who is not only willing to, but is excited to clean your bird cage with you.
Yeah, hang on to that. And it's Elijah Wood.
And he's probably paying your rent too. Or mortgage. He is. He's good for it. Walter's a G.
I think she should have just stayed and cleaned the cage.
He could destroy her. Why upset him?
This next line, though, was super weird. I clocked some weird music choices. Because she says, you couldn't possibly understand the bonds forged in life and death experiences. And when it cuts to him, he's not taking this well. And it's got this dark, foreboding score behind this scene. And it made me think, knowing Walter being kind of crazy, he's a murderer and stuff, pretty cool with all that stuff. It made me feel like he's going to want to manufacture some sort of life and death thing for Misty to experience with him so that they can be bonded.
Ooh, that's good.
You can just see his mind turning there okay, that's what you'd like, which Misty should love because that's what she did to the rest of the girls. But I bet she won't. So I think if anything, there won't be a full heel turn, but there will be a sort of pseudo heel turn for Walter through his love for her, if that makes sense.
God, I hope so.
God, I hope so. Back in the past, young Natalie and Misty are heading south, and they're discussing what happened to Coach Scott. And one interesting tidbit we didn't talk about yet is in this episode, if you believe him, Coach did not burn down the cabin. We all just assume that he really did because it kind of set him up, even from the viewer's point of view. He was just angry at the girls and left and did that. But he claims he didn't, and the girls are now discussing whether or not he actually did, which is kind of wild. I'm pretty sure
they showed him start the fires.
You've seen it most recently, but I would guess they did not, because the way that this is shot.
Well, I almost wonder, they allude to him talking to something at the end of this episode. So part of me is is this going to be maybe a similar Taissa situation where he has this separate personality, or maybe this quote unquote wilderness personality that takes over him? I don't know. It was a little confusing because I think I do remember him physically lighting the house on fire.
Prior to doing that, he was also going crazy and having all of those visions of his life with Paul that seemingly he could have had if he had chosen to stay. Because he has all those things about I decided, fuck that soccer team. I want to live my best life with you. But clearly that's not what happened because he's in the forest with the girls. So I think that Paul is who he's talking to when he's having his moments. And I'm pretty sure that they showed him setting stuff around the house to start the fire.
This is a dumb, nothing way to contribute to this debate, but it makes sense to me. If you Google it on Reddit, there's a bunch of people arguing about whether or not Coach Ben burned down the cabin. And so and that's from 2 years ago. I just feel like it didn't show him doing that if that's a debate, right? That's a silly piece of evidence, but I think there's some logic to that. This Reddit user who's deleted, by the way, so maybe don't trust him. What's he been doing?
He realized he was wrong and deleted this for a while.
There's no scenario in which Ben burned the cabin down, blah, 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 blah. But then there's another post. Do we really think Coach Ben burned the cabin down? And a bunch of people are, oh, I get what you're saying, Andy. 205 people voted yes because he had the matches. So I think it showed him grabbing matches or something. And that's what Andy's talking about and remembering. So yeah, I don't know. We'll find out soon. But I think that's what happened is they showed him grabbing fire starting tools to mislead us. To mislead us. As to who he's talking to, which happens at the end of this episode, we'll talk about it more then, but I just read it as like he's going crazy. He's been alone for months. And then before that with even worse company. And we had seen him like hallucinating his husband and stuff a lot. I'd never considered that there was like a physical other person there or anything like that. I just thought the island was getting to him, or not the island, but I wish it was an island.
Lost callback.
He's talking to John Locke back there. What's in that hatch, Ben? Get over your leg being missing. Let's go do it.
He's talking to the French guy.
I wish he'd have found a bunch of heroin like they did on Lost instead of what he found. Protein bars and stuff.
I think they did. That's what Travis is doing, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, Lottie, there's this plane.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know. But Mari fixed her leg. It's still sore, I'm guessing. Maybe some tears, as the doctors have pointed out. And she tells Coach, you can't leave me here. And she's like, with the thing that was screaming, which I thought the screams were Mari. So I'm confused. I'm confused by that. I guess there's some other like scary sounding entity.
The screams were very scary sounding and monstrous sounding in the previous episode. So unless Mari was a werewolf or something else was going on,
could be.
But it seems like she was stuck in the hole and she also heard the scary, spooky monster noises.
Yeah, I would. If that's the case, I would be scared to be in that hole as well. I'm finna not be in this pit anymore.
Yeah, because at the end of the previous episode, I mean, they all heard the screams, and I kind of interpreted they could be Mari's. And obviously, like they're in the woods and things are scarier because they're in the woods and it can be heightened or whatever.
That's how I took it. It's like from their POV, it sounded like a werewolf, but it was just Mari. That was the way I was reading it.
But now that Mari acknowledges that she heard these crazy screams too, I'm like, okay, what was screaming? No one knows.
And it's at this point that Coach either pretends or is legitimately surprised that the cabin is burnt down. So maybe he's got like a split personality scenario, but I think that's lame given what we already experienced with Taissa. You can't just do that again. So I don't know what's going on there. It's interesting, but he claims he did not burn the cabin down. In the present, Misty shows up to Shauna's house, and I love that she sees Jeff and Shauna and assumes they're all going out. And she's like, oh, I didn't know it was a dressy thing. It's actually quite sad.
Yeah, she's got a bag full of board games and stuff. Like she was having a good time.
She wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
Which is interesting how well they're able to, and it's 90% how good Christina Ricci is and how lovable she is. But like knowing that Misty is the cause of all the woe and still being like, why is everybody being so mean to her? Is a funny juxtaposition to feel as a viewer, you know? Yeah. But it's hilarious. It worked so well for me. Wait, is this an intervention? She got drunk once. And now she's like, oh God, am I, and she's like, are you an alcoholic? And, do you have a drinking problem? And then Misty goes, do I? Because there are people like that as an alcoholic, somebody who's done so many drugs. There are like people you'll run into in the drug scene that do drugs like once. And they're like, whoa.
I have a problem.
I think I'm addicted. You know what I mean? And as the drug addict, you're like, shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
I took a gummy and I liked it.
There's this girl I went to high school with, and she got razzed a bunch for like a couple years because she went to a party and a bunch of people were giving her apple juice and telling her it was beer. And she was pretending, she was acting like she was drunk. Like, I'm so drunk, I had so much beers. And they're like, we just gave you apple juice, dumbass.
Oh, dude, the placebo effect is fucking real with alcohol. It's bizarre.
That's bullying.
It is bullying, but it was funny.
That's so funny. But like, they would do that. I feel like they would do that to Misty. No?
They for sure.
You probably would.
She could have got diabetes or diarrhea. Doing Edward 40 hands with 2 bottles of juicy juice.
Is this a universal experience for everyone to do to their friend?
Apparently a bunch of bullies.
Yeah.
Bullies. Shit. That's so funny.
But Shauna's like, no, you're going to stay here and babysit. I need you to keep Callie and Lottie from talking to each other. That's your job. And Misty, and you're the only one I trust, which is so mean and not true because she's like the last one she called. God damn it, Shauna. But back in the past, Natalie is walking with Misty. I love the bit where Misty's like, the way that Coach Scott and I ended things, because she's so cringeworthy and delusional, and Natalie can hardly stand it. But she wants to cover up the fact that Coach is alive. She sees the animal trap there, and she tries to dissuade Misty and from going that way and from seeing it. She does a horrible job. She's a terrible liar. It's really uncomfortable to watch. It would have been so easy to cover that up. She's so bad at it. She could have just been like, oh, I said that last summer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Actually, I don't want to go south anymore. Mari doesn't know where the berries are. This is a dumb idea. Like, it would have been so easy.
Mari's an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to admit that I'm such a good liar or anything, but it's like, that would have been so easy. And she's like, a squirrel told me.
Oh, the night gardener must have left that.
And Misty's super suspicious. I like that callback. Misty's super suspicious. I don't know. Back in the present, what's that tape that Callie's got? Do we know? We don't, do we?
It got left on their porch.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was?
The spooky Hillary Swank monster that we were that was spying on Shauna was also spying on Callie when she was making her sundae and left that on the porch. And Callie.
Oh, that was in the symbol envelope?
Yes.
Okay. But it's like it's one of those old small tapes that needs to be put in a big VHS or a camera, right?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was a cassette tape.
No, it's a camcorder tape.
Yeah, it's an old school videotape. You wouldn't know nothing about it. Back in the day,
my bad.
Before the cloud, we had to video record things on tape.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's
ancient.
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
Ancient.
The before time.
And we had VHS converters for those little tapes where you could play them on your TV. You could just plug stuff in.
My family did have that. I did have that. But to me, it just looked like a cassette tape. Anyway, moving on.
You couldn't imagine. You'd pop in a tape that was blank and you didn't know what you were going to get. You might get 30 minutes of a wedding, 12 minutes of porn, and then half of a Super Bowl all on one tape.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yep. That's so fucking dead on.
This is a wild movie. I like the second act.
Well, the reason I thought it was a cassette tape is because they do show in the trailer for this season, they do show Shauna listening to it. So there's no visual element to the video tape. At least from the trailer, there's no video. Yeah, there's no video element that I witnessed. But I like to think Callie is like me in this moment where she's like, what the fuck is this? How do I play this?
That's the funniest part. That's the real context of that scene. And she's like, what is this?
What is this? She's like,
so weird. Is this one of those Tamagotchis mom's always talking about?
Ooh, she's going to take it to Van because she runs that VHS store.
Is this a Furby?
That'd be cool. Furby.
This is a Furby. Lottie comes in and tries to talk to her, and she's immediately Lottie. I love that. The show's so ridiculous. Like, she's not going to be like, hey, what's up? She's going to be like, immediately like, I've been meditating. I've seen your future. But Misty comes in. She's like, hey, we need to alphabetize the pantry. I just noticed it's unalphabetized. Come on, Lottie, because that's the best Misty can come up with. Back in the past, Van and Taissa are on their own search party for Mari. Taissa blames Natalie, and they talk about the coach again. Natalie never wanted to believe that he did it. So again, they're like, all of a sudden, whether or not he burnt down the cabin is a huge discussion from multiple factions in this show. And Van clocks immediately that Taissa wants to be the leader, and that's why she's criticizing Natalie so much.
Do you want to perhaps run a campaign to lead a community of people, perhaps, in a place that does not want to be governed?
And then impeach yourself?
Yeah.
And now they hear Travis screaming. And he's like, whoa, babes.
Dumbledore was killed by Snape. I just got to the part in the book.
No.
Okay, they were friends. He trusted him.
But he says, they're coming. I don't want to see them. And he's like, and he's got some kind of like creepy horror movie nursery rhyme. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Or he's like singing Will.i.am and Britney wrong. I'm not sure.
This reminds me of a part in the only season of Firefly. One of the characters has a moment where she keeps repeating the line 1, 2, hands of blue, and then like just repeats over and over again. And so when he started doing this, it just immediately thought of that. I'm like, we're going to cover that show soon. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll get there soon.
Nice.
I don't know what he's doing here, though. They're trying to get inside me. and then he cries. Don't let him.
Yeah, he starts choking Lottie, and the entire van are like, dude, what are you doing to Travis? What the fuck is going on? Because they can see that Travis is really, having a real bad trip. And Lottie is just feeding into this bad trip. Like, tell me what they said. What are they going to put into you? Are they using lube?
Are they using protection?
God, she's like the worst friend to have when you're having a bad trip.
Oh, for sure. Really
That's
bad
fucking
vibes from
awful,
Lottie.
man.
She's like painting her face and like messing with her eyeballs.
She's putting the lights on her fingers and stuff. She's like, come here. Let's listen to Tool. And you're like, no, not Tool.
Terrible trip sitter.
We need the Beatles.
Terrible.
Yeah, he's weeping. He's having a really bad time. But she wants to, like, the spirits love you. That you're the one they've chosen. Come on. Back in the present, Taissa shows up to the restaurant to pay the bill. And I don't think I've ever been to a restaurant that doesn't take cash, but maybe these really fancy ones are like that sometimes. The whole credit card thing was weird because they were setting that up like, oh, this is how Taissa is going to get caught. Mm-hmm. And then she just like takes it immediately. So it was like a non-issue. It's just a weird, why'd they even bring that up if it wasn't going to matter?
But also I was under the impression that the restaurant already knew that she was like,
she was her.
They already knew who she was. So like her paying for the dinner wouldn't have like outed her any more than them already knowing that it was her. Unless it was like, this is evidence.
Is that our senator that went crazy and then impeached herself? Weird.
Exactly. But she sees like the little like memorial set up in the restaurant. That is a corporate thing that they would do. Like, hey, we also have to work today, but we lit some candles for Carl.
Right.
I know we're all sad, but we've got a 30 top coming at noon. Come on. Let's get back to it. And she runs. And it's totally, I also get like the carryout person's not going to know how to pull up a check from the previous night. And she has to go get a manager. Like that all tracks. That's definitely going to happen. Yeah. But they're all dramatic when they come back. Like, that's the one. So she runs. She grabs her card and runs. Misty and Lottie are alphabetizing the cabinet. This was done really well. She's talking about, should we do N for N cheese? All that shit. But also the fact that she like clocks the allergy medicine and sets that out and stuff. Like it's a really offhanded comment. That's well done. Chekhov's allergy medicine. And Lottie's like, no, you shouldn't feel bad. Natalie's death was exactly as intended.
It chose.
And I love Misty's response. So they just let you right out of the hospital, huh? And then they hear Callie sneaking up. And she's like, no, guys, let's do this sleepover style, And what's the alcohol that she wants to drink? It's like rum and milk.
Rum and milk, yeah, something like that, which sounds disgusting.
I think she said, was it a White Russian?
Well, that's some Big Lebowski shit, but...
So vodka and milk is a White Russian.
That makes sense, vodka, Russian, right? What is this, like a white pirate?
Maybe. I'm going to look that up. I forget what she called it.
Like a milk rum punch or something.
Milk rum punch. Yes, that's what she called it.
White pirate.
Yeah.
Ooh, stunning. Is this going to be your guys' next cocktail party, the Yellowjackets version?
I mean, I got milk and rum here, bro. We creamed it or what?
Andy can just do a Misty and just do shots of whiskey. But yeah, Misty's like, no, I'm hungover and she's medicated. Hopefully, we can't be drinking and hanging out and doing sleepovers. And they're like, are you scared of my mom? And then Lottie's like, to be fair, we're all scared of your mom, which we find out more and more why soon. But Misty's never been to a sleepover. And that's when the girls step in like, oh, girl, that is ridiculous. She's like, well, technically I was at like an 18-month-long sleepover. And they're like, no, doesn't count. But Shauna and Jeff are at that work dinner. And these guys, Madison, you talked earlier about how Shauna was being really rude, but these guys clearly suck from jump.
I mean, I guess like when I say rude, I mean, I guess just objectively like being on her phone and like not being disinterested in the conversation. Whereas I feel like, I mean, her going into this dinner knowing what it is, I mean, I feel like she could have maybe just like put on a front for her husband. But I also understand like she's not going to do that either. So, I mean, it's a little conflicting. To me, I'd be like, it's one night. Your husband doesn't ask you for much. Just like entertain it and like make Jeff happy in this instance. But also like those guys did suck. Like, I don't think there was any redemption, even if she did put on a front.
She didn't give them any rope either to prove that she was just like immediately showed up like, nah, I'm out. I don't like these guys.
Well, we don't know how far into that conversation it had gotten when we see her. Right. And I guess I think it's an interesting way to film that scene if you want to paint Shauna as like a selfish person, which she is, who's always wrapped up in her own shit, which she is, and can't take one night to let Jeff have any kind of normal, which she is. But like they very clearly suck very badly. They're so disrespectful. Like, you know, we don't know if your furniture's tits enough for our, you know, and it's just like and then at the end they're like, we're just not, you know, you're small mop and pop. You're not cool like us. And like, I don't think it was ever going to work anyway. And so she just wanted Jeff to have some goddamn self-respect. But I don't know what their financial situation is. If like they desperately need to be like out here sucking dick for furniture jobs or something. Like, I don't have enough context, but
he was blackmailing to try to keep the store open. So, I mean, they're pretty broke.
It's not great. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird way to do it.
She was just talking to him a few scenes prior before Lottie showed up that she was like ready to get back to normal and like focus on the family and growing the family back together. And then the first opportunity that they have.
Yeah.
Not really a team player. Now, I do agree that it's understandable that she's not, because Lottie just showed up and she's looking at her phone. Like, is Lottie getting her claws into my daughter? Like, totally understand her worry in that situation. But yeah, it is true that she also wasn't, I don't think, trying to help support Jeff as much as she could.
I thought they were going to they were setting the scene up for Shauna to step in and close the deal. And that was going to be like the comedic twist.
I still think there's a chance where that happens, where she stepped up and did that. And then like next episode, like, Jeff, your wife is the tits. I love the balls on that bitch. Let's do business.
Yeah. I respect the way she talked to me crazy. Because Jeff's like, let's get some tapas for the table. And the waitress is just like, all of them. And, you know, so he's embarrassing himself. And then Shauna's like, we'll have the ceviche, which I don't even know what that is. And so I was like, oh, Shauna's going to close this deal, like by being, you know, disinterested, which you're right. It still could go that route. But the guys are just so like phones at the table again. And, you know, Shauna's just like, oh, what are you, my dad? Like, you know, there's just like this immediate, like, you're terrible. You're terrible people.
It's not a hotel. It's an experience.
Yeah, they said that like immediately. I loved it.
And Jeff's like, don't say anything, Shauna, please. The sleepover, they're playing truth or dare. She puts allergy medicine and grenadine in the cocktail, which those two go together. It was even red allergy medicine, but not in milk. So I was just like, what's the cocktail vibe here?
It's also Callie, who's 16, making cocktails. So 17. Like, sorry, but like, I doubt she has any knowledge of how to make drinks.
Well, obviously she's drinking fucking milk and rum.
My cocktail knowledge at 17 was just Sailor Jerry and Dr. Pepper go really well together.
They do.
It was and Mountain Dew and Everclear.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow. Mine was Burnett's alcohol. It's just like cheapo, like vodka stuff. Yeah.
It's just which sodas go with which liquors. That's your cocktail knowledge at 17.
Or Gatorade.
Gatorade, sure. Get some electrolytes in there.
Yeah.
We used to mix Pedialyte with certain clear liquors to try to like get ahead of the hangovers.
Yeah.
And like a little bit of crack. Just kind of nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
Andy's just nodding. It's supposed to be funny, but
it all sounds pretty good to me.
But she wants to know what it is. Like she really wants that information from Lottie.
So does everybody. What is it?
Oh, everybody thinks we ate people there, and that is ridiculous. So did you? And like Callie's really hardcore trying to hammer this down. That allergy medicine hit Misty ridiculously quickly.
Part of me is like, what is that? Because I need that.
Mm-hmm. I wish
I could fall asleep like that.
About Misty's face mask?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the cheetah?
They opened this
cat thing, whatever it was.
They opened this scene. They opened up the scene with Fiona Apple, and I was loving that. And then when they both were like, they had the face masks on, they were like, yeah, truth or dare. Like it was just it looked like a SNL skit, and I really liked it. It was really funny.
The masks, all like I said, all the comedic beats work really well in this episode for me, for sure. Like I was laughing at the masks. I thought that was a great touch.
And then Misty was like, oh yeah, I'm not, or something. She was like, oh, I'm not going to play truth or dare. Like, I'm not that interesting. And then Callie looked, I liked this line because I feel like it had a double meaning, but she's like, the body count's a little high for you to claim to be boring. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's alluding to like maybe them killing people, and also them like, because Misty's an adult and has slept with people.
And like with the cheetah mask and Misty's like kind of dark stare in response to that, but also like that's fair, that all meshes and works so well.
Yeah.
But back in the past, the coach brings a ladder and rope for Mari to get out, and then he like knocks her over. He's got the plan, which it was clever that he used the rope. He's like, oh, tie yourself up so I can help pull you up the ladder. But also he had that plan so that she would already have herself tied up. So he could just kind of wrap her in it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm not trying to hurt you, but I can't trust that mob. And then he gives her one of his crutches because now she's got a bad leg. He's like, we're going to go real slow.
Very nice.
And as the scene ends, it's like real slow.
I love the semantics of this, because he's like, you think I'm going to trust you guys? You guys killed and ate Javi. Do you think I'd be next if I don't play my cards right? And Mara's like, we didn't kill Javi.
We did eat him.
Nice. We did eat him, though.
We just didn't save him as he drowned.
He was already dead, first off. But there's no second off. Like, that's how you respond to that if you're the cannibal. First off, we didn't kill him. Second, I don't want to be in the hole anymore. Back in the present, Taissa's smoking a ciggy, walking around. This whole like Spanish sermon thing is an interesting touch.
Yeah, I've never seen a curbside storefront church that you can just walk up to from the sidewalk on Main Street and then
pass the people in the back room.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine in like big cities there are little weird churches like this in downtown areas. Like I'm not surprised that there's like a church in there.
I'm more surprised that she just walked through the service and just went straight to the back door, and they're like,
well, they are in Jersey, so there's no rules in Jersey.
Tony Soprano, yada yada yada. It happens. It's true. But she picked up a matchbook at that restaurant, which I thought that was going to be a thing. And I meant to go back, but like Steve pointed out last week that our screeners are weird on pausing. I wanted to see what the restaurant was called or what it said in French and see if it was clever, but I couldn't pause it on there.
Dame, P-A-S-D-A-M-E. It's not a woman in French.
Referencing Hilary Swank, she is Coach Ben.
It's not a woman.
Interesting.
How dare
But she offers the matchbook to the flame, so it's kind of like a R.I.P. waiter guy. We're going to miss you, Carl, kind of thing. But also like the spirit took another one. I don't know. It seems to be what's going on. Like she wanted to like complete the offering or whatever. I'm not sure. That's the way that I took it, at least.
And then Mother Mary's like, what's this for? Why are you doing this for me?
Mm-hmm. But Mystery is not answering. Misty is not Mystery. Mystery. Fuck. Misty. Sex.
Oh, fuck, that was fire.
Misty is not answering Shauna's phone calls. So Shauna goes to the bathroom. She goes into one of the stalls, and there's like these. I don't understand this scene at all. There's like creepy footsteps, which is the worst when you're trying to take a shit or like vape without being caught in the airport. And she's like ready, and then the light turns off. I like Shauna's instincts. She gets the key stabbers.
Yeah.
As a classic self-defense move. She gets the key stabbers and her phone light, goes outside the stall, looks around a second. Are we supposed to believe that whoever that was snuck around her and put the phone on the toilet? How the fuck did they do that?
I assume that they just like did that first before they stood awkwardly outside of their stall.
So I would ask you guys, when I watched this, the editing of her in the bathroom was really odd.
Weird.
And I don't know if it's because we have screeners, but
I think so.
But I was like, I feel like something happened in the interim between that and when it cut, because I'm like, something's happened so abruptly. It happened so abruptly. I was like, what happened?
I felt the same way, Madison. I felt like, because when the lights go out, it's an immediate cut to her bursting out of the room or out of the stall. And I kind of thought that I missed something and went back and watched it a couple times. But
it didn't do that to me. It showed her like freaking out and getting the keys out of her purse.
Oh.
And then she busts out of the stall on my version.
I saw her get the keys out and stuff, but like the edit when the lights went out was a jarring, weird one. And like, it was like a mismatch of where her head was and stuff.
Yeah.
Like in the shot, like it was an awkward edit that I'm assuming is just a screener thing.
That's interesting.
They did show the keys and her getting the flashlight out and stuff.
Yeah, but logistically, I guess that person knew Shauna was going to go in the bathroom, ? So put the phone in there, left, and then came back.
She shits a lot. I remember from the island. She's a pooper. You know, like
We called her Poopy Shawnee.
Poopy Shawnee.
We're Poopy Shawnee.
We were terrible at nicknames, but the point
Poopy
still stands.
What if the blackmailer or whoever this is was in the bathroom in that stall next to her when she showed up and was like, "Oh, great, cool," and then
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
They were saddlebagging, and she's like, "Wait, I have an idea."
I was about to blow this one up, but Shauna.
Or maybe it was a situation where they put the phone in there to record Shauna, and then I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense.
It was one of the hotel bros.
Yeah.
He was like, nice. That's what the audio tape is. It's just Shauna taking a shit.
The audio of the plops.
That's so disturbing.
Why is Travis doing it? Plops to you, bro.
Plops to you.
I think it's
You
just
think
weird.
plops?
It's just plops, you think? It's I think that scene is just poorly handled, but all we need to know is there's a fucking mystery phone in there. There's a blocked caller trying to call it, probably wants to talk to her, you know, like, hey, answer this. And she gives it to the bartender. And we get back to the Crypto Bros hotel runners. Does your stock fuck, Jeff? And he's like, oh yeah, my furniture has lots of sex. This is where I was like, I would expect, like, if my wife owned a business and I was trying to be polite and like they were like treating her this way, it would be difficult for me to treat them well either, you know? Sure. Obviously we're your lifeline, Jeff. Like, you need us, right? We don't need you. You know, like, I'm not gonna just sit there probably. But I love Shauna's, you know, this was a fun moment for me. Like, what did your dad do? You know, real estate. Oh, weird. Just like you. That's so weird. Two self-made, completely separate businesses, self-made. That's interesting, you know? And then she kind of goes full on, you fucking nothing. Piece of shit, dickless little bitch. And he's like, whoa.
Little boner.
Back in the past, Akila checks on Travis. This is a heartbreaking scene. I think, I forget his name, but the guy who plays Travis is doing a really good job here. Like, do you want to hold Mortimer? And he's like,
yes.
Yeah.
I want to pet
Lord Mortimer.
I would love to pet a ducky right now. It's a duck, right? I don't want to be an idiot.
Yeah, it's a duck.
Okay.
Someone's in the comments like, it's a mallard, you Philistine.
I know. Every time I do, like ever since Dragonfly Butterfly, I've had this like shtick where I'm just a fucking idiot with animals specifically. So I wanted to make sure. Like everybody's talking about Severance, and I'm like, what are the emos for, though? You know, they're not emus, they're goats. He does want to hold Mortimer, and it was very sad. Lottie fucking sucks. She's a real fuddy-duddy. She, like, as soon as he starts to get some comfort, she walks up like, you rang. And it's like, dude, not now. It just wants to be happy, Travis. Let it inside you.
I was going to say, Travis says to her, it doesn't want me. It wants someone, I forget what exactly he says to her, but it's like, they want something.
Someone else is closer to it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's why the animals trust her.
And he looks at Aquila, but like he's lying. He just wants the Lottie smoke off his back.
I love that shot when Lottie leaves him to go talk to Aquila. He's holding Mortimer the duck, and he does this really guilty, like
I just got your mommy in trouble, Mortimer. I'm sorry. It had to be done. I don't want to take the shrooms anymore.
Yeah.
I was actually so jealous of Travis that he got to hold that duck.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He deserved it.
That guy.
That's the Pip and the dog of the cannibals for sure, Mortimer.
I
wish you'd stop eating each other.
You're going to eat me eventually too, aren't you?
I know it. Do ducks even lay eggs? I think so.
Do they?
I'm speaking as Kit now. I have no idea. And then Misty and Natalie return to camp. No sign of Maury, they say. But Misty immediately snitches to Shauna. Natalie knows where Coach Ben is. Is his name Ben?
Yeah. Ben
Okay.
Scott.
Because my head went Coach Scott, and I'm like, I'm fucking confused now. So she immediately snitches, and Shauna's like, don't fucking tell anybody else this information. And Misty blocks the lips and throws away the key. Back in the present.
Repo D4Zays!
Dude, I didn't fucking know what this reality show was. I thought there was like an Amazon Prime ad on my fucking screener, and I was tripping. This is a weird cut.
You're looking for a time and watch because this dirtbag cares about his timepiece more than quality time with his wife.
Shauna comes home to witness the girl time. Misty's passed out on the kitchen table. She wakes up and pukes. And she's like, do you have a drinking problem? It's so funny. That shit works for me, dude. I laughed my ass off. Van gets home from urgent care. And remember, Taissa has found out that they killed the waiter, and she apologizes for bringing up her cancer. And she's like, well, how was the restaurant? She's like, pretty straightforward. Walter's at home, like pimping out the Caligula cage, soldering it.
Wait, do you think Van is kind of lying about going to urgent care too? Because she was kind of being a little sus with her explanation of it.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to, since we only saw Taissa's viewpoint, we were supposed to glean that something also shady happened at the urgent care. Maybe she didn't even go. I don't know. Or maybe she found out she's going to die in like 3 days instead of 3 months. I don't know. But yeah, I got that vibe as well.
Did you watch the videotape from the ring?
Yeah. Of Shauna pooping. I'm sorry. That's not funny. And I'm not going to let that be our inside joke. Walter's pimping out the Caligula cage. And he's so concerned about Misty because she's coming in wasted again. And she's like, why did your friends let you drive home this drunk? Because Shauna's not the boss of me, Walter, and you're not either.
Air quoting my friendships.
That's right. All you do is spy and hover. Why don't you have any friends? Anyway, she flips out and kicks him out of the house. And he's so like, don't do this. No, I'm not done soldering the cage. I put a cute little sign on it.
What was he doing to that cage?
It looked like he was putting, I forget what it said, but it looked like he was like putting like cute little decorations on it.
He made a little sign for his, I think it just said like Caligula's home or something to that effect.
Yeah.
A cute little decoration that he put on there.
Back in the past, Mari and Ben are hanging out in the coach cave, and he makes her hot chalky. And she's like, hot chalky? And he's like, yeah, I found it. And I had to say, this has to be the kind that with water, which is like a major ew. I know that she hasn't had real food in a long time, but like, you don't have any milk? Like, what's up? This sucks. This place fucking sucks.
You would send that cup of hot chocolate back to the kitchen after being lost in the wood.
Because I grew up poor and we had the Swiss Miss with the fucking water, and that's gross. And eventually I'd go to my friend's house and they'd hook it up with the hot milk, and it's like, oh shit, this is how you do it. And ever since, I can't go back.
I never had it with milk. It was always water.
You Swiss missing with the water, bro?
Yeah. I was also just never big into hot chocolate, but maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I think I'm team water, if I'm being honest.
Chocolatey water? Just hear yourself.
But then you would put marshmallows in it, and like that would be the creamy element.
Yeah, that helps. Throw a little water, marshmallows in the water. Just mix the powder in the swimming pool and swim around with your mouth open. Fuck it. Real G's heat it up on the stove. Put the chocolate in. Yeah. Let the milk simmer. I don't do this. I don't even like hot chocolate. I'm just saying, if I was. But I get, like, again, she hasn't had anything real. She's grateful for this.
I was concerned about her because she starts gulping that shit down.
It's going to burn you.
Her tummy's going to be really hot and uncomfortable.
And maybe even like a little scalding on the tongue. But then we hear Coach talking to probably himself, a spirit, a vision, a delusion. I'm trying to keep her quiet. I need time to think. That's enough. Stop. And then Mari's like, God, dude, why is everybody I know like this? You know, that's got to be what she's thinking.
Everyone I know is so uncool.
She's concerned. Back in the present, Jeff is understandably shitty with Shauna. Like, you know, I ask you for one fucking thing. Why you got to be this way? And then he slams the door and she's like, I don't care about my husband. I'm going to call the restaurant and figure out what's up with this phone, which isn't going to work at all. Like, can you imagine you're making $250 an hour plus tips and some chick calls, like, I turned in a phone earlier. Like, I don't care. Go away.
Oh yeah, I know.
But it's also like providing a description of who that person is. It's pretty not protocol, I can imagine, for that restaurant. Anyway.
Does she look like Hillary Swank?
Yeah, we need to know. Does she look like she's won an Academy Award? Or she can do a crane kick, perhaps?
How many millions of a baby is she?
She was in a movie called Messenger where she played Joan of Arc. I don't think anybody else saw it but Kit, but she was in that as well.
What is it?
Messenger.
I've seen that, but isn't that Mila Jovovich?
You're right. It's embarrassing. Anyway. But also, like, pretty obscure movie either way that you saw.
Insane movie. Very insane.
Let's talk after.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, exactly. Shauna's on the prowl in the past, and it's quickly revealed that her new friend, Melissa, is the one that's following her. And Shauna's like, she pulls out the knife backwards, like the cutty part is facing her. It annoyed me because she's supposed to be like the bad bitch, and it's like turning around. She's like holding the blade. Like, come on, props department. And back in the present, Shauna's still following up on the lost phone. It's more of a quick intercut at this point now. And Melissa in the past is explaining herself. It's all intercut with the phone call, and it's fucking me up on my notes, but it's like, hey, I understand why you don't want, he's my baby. And she's like, hey, I'm cool with that. You don't have to cut anybody. I would like to speak to the manager. That's when that scene happens. And this is where Melissa goes, everyone's afraid of you, you know, but I'm not. And Shauna slams her up against the tree, puts the knife to her throat. I will gut you. I'll fucking kill you. And then Melissa kisses her because she's like, this is hot. Leave the knife. And my notes are, let's go. Because like, this is what I needed to be invested.
Yes.
Madison, thoughts?
For me, I was like, okay, I could see this tension building, but I was like, surely they're not going to do that. And then they did it. And I was like, oh shit. Because I remember there was a lot of discourse at the beginning of the show with Jackie and Shauna, and how that was that had undertones of like a sapphic relationship. And I was anti that because I didn't feel like Jackie and Shauna gave that, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. And Shauna, to me, or at least young Shauna, doesn't really, I don't know, not to say that there needs to be a certain quote unquote vibe, but I wasn't picking up any sapphic energy. Melissa, kinda, yes. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. But I could see them building the foundation, especially at the beginning, at least showing Melissa liked Shauna, with being sweet to her in episode 1 and stepping on the crown that Aquila had made for her. So when it happened, I was like, oh shit, they did go there. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not mad about it. So I'm curious to see how it goes from here.
Well, I don't remember talking about Jackie and Shauna in that way, but I'm sure we did, and I'm sure the fandom did.
Well, it was Steve that actually brought it up initially, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember feeling this way at all. Because when we recapped season 1, you and I had seen it before, but Steve had not. And so Steve was like, oh yeah, I am sensing a little bit of sapphic relationship between Shauna and Jackie. And I was like, oh, I don't feel that at all. And then it was actually, I looked it up afterwards, and a lot of people were saying that they felt that way about their characters. But so, yeah.
What's this word, sapphic?
It's just like woman, love woman, lesbians. Another word for homoerotic, basically.
But specifically women.
Yes.
It reminds me of the conversation surrounding the first season of House of the Dragon, and like Emily Carey and Amelia Alcock's versions of those characters. There was a lot of discussion about whether or not they had sexual feelings or a romantic involvement beyond friendships, and there still is to this day between those characters, Rhaenyra and Alicent. And I remember the interview with Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook. I think it might have been Emily Carey and Millie Alcock, which would make more sense. But they were like, there's always some element of romantic love in young female friendships. And it was like a very European, like, cool way of looking at it, I thought, because I've always had this outlook that everybody's gay a little bit, right? So it's just like, and then it's society that kind of holds that back. So I don't know what you guys are laughing about because I can't see the chat.
Audio listeners, what happened was Kit is articulating with his hands, and the computer thought he gave a thumbs up, so this like thumbs up bubble popped up, and he's like, all women, all young girls have particular love and a thumbs up.
I was like, the lesbian gods are giving you the thumbs up.
Well, I thought somebody in the chat was able to do that, and I just was trying to ignore it because I don't think it just does it.
Yeah, that's something that because you're on your MacBook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, MacBooks
that was so
have a thing where they
strange.
can read hand gestures and it pops up an emoji, but it's not doing it now that you're trying to do it.
I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to share. I poorly paraphrased a woman's take on this subject, and I just wanted to share it because it reminded me of that discourse. And I can't remember if it was Emily Carey or if it was Olivia Cook that said that, but...
No, and I think, I mean, I don't think you did a poor job. I think you captured it perfectly. I think it's an element of like when you're, I don't know. I'm sure maybe the same can be said for younger men too. Like there's just this underlining love that you have for somebody else, and it oftentimes can show through in romantic senses, or like, I don't know.
And the reason I think it's only younger is because society stamps that out.
Sure.
Is my theory over time and puts that in a box. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas like, I probably wouldn't fuck Andy now, but it's only because I feel judged.
Big government doesn't want us to be a thing.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
But also too, like the reality of, I'm sure their situation, they've been out in the wilderness. Not that there's a comfortability with their situation. Like they're obviously fighting to stay alive, but I feel like there's some muscle memory to where they are at this current moment. And so now they're able to tune into other emotions that they maybe haven't been able to because they've been on survival mode. And so it makes sense for characters, or excuse me, for the young women to maybe be feeling more emotionally connected to others in a romantic sense because they're not able to expand on it. Right. any other way with other people. So it makes sense for something like this to happen.
I agree. I think what I'm trying to say is just like with my worldview, when I see a kiss like that, I don't go, oh, Shauna's gay or Shauna's bi. I just go, nothing's stopping her from being her complete and full self because she's in the fucking wilderness, right?
I see.
And, whereas, like, if that had happened at an In-N-Out, she might be like, hey,
Sure.
I'm not gay because people are looking, or, you know what I mean? I have to like think a lot more about this because we're in the confines of society. But in the woods, she's like, just the knife stays. You know what I mean? Just cut. Which is another context to that scene that I really like, is that she doesn't take the knife away, you know?
Still protecting herself in a way. But that's an interesting take too. I did not think of that. Kind of removing the societal pressure element of the situation. And Shauna just being like, fuck it.
Well, that's what, and I think they're going to go that with the adult as well.
Sure. They're
going to have Hilary Swank, who I still think is Melissa, but it might not be. But that's the only interesting thing to do, is have Melissa show up with the way they're setting this up, and then have Shauna be like, anyway, and then Melissa's going to be like, what's up? You know? And then Jeff's going to be like,
I can't wait till we watch episode 3 and Melissa dies, and we're all like, fuck.
Yeah.
That'll depress
I think
me.
it'd be pretty interesting if Hilary Swank showed up as Hilary Swank. Just like, what's all this then?
Yeah, Steve's in Coach playing herself. I don't think she's British. Or, by the way.
What's all this then?
She's also not in Messengers. Don't get it twisted.
No. Or Coach Ben. That's Steve's two camps. But anyway, now it's time for our top 3 favorite moments of the episode. But first, real quick, another word from one of our sponsors.
Hello, Stream Fiends. It is the month of February. That's right. I really enunciate the R in February. It's a weird quirk of mine. No apologies will be given, but a huge shout of thanks and gratitude will be given to all of our patrons here at Streaming Things. But I want to give a special shout out to our super patrons for the month of February. So thank you to Alex, Aubrey Carell, Daniel Pack, Nice Guy Eddie, Tulloon, Jordan Garvin, Albus Stinkpot, Haley, Maddlestat, Susie Callahan, Anthony Corona, Jim X, Lady Trashley, Sean Myers, Just Liz Calabria, Mike from New Hampshire, Brett X, E. Scramo, Lil Tickler, Svento7, Jay Scramo, Bluff Pump, AK Ashley Ray, Adam Busby, Big Butthorn, Jer Latanowicz, Kaylee Sampson, Rabid Dog in a Barbie Car, Elbander, Charlie Friday, Alexis Adler, Peaches, Emmy, Haley B, Joe Velez, Trisha Bueller, Sun-Loving Mortal, Suzanne Rode, Jadinklage Morgoon, Chloe, Kalisha Reeves, Paula Garcia, Brenda, Aaron Armstrong, Kevin Strother, Ashley Powers, The Thrift Creeper, Casey McCain, and of course, Enza. And with that, let's get back to the show. I love you.
And we are back with our choice cuts, our top 3 favorite moments from episode 2, Dislocation. Andy, no, shut up, Andy. Madison, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Akila giving Travis Mortimer. I think it's very sweet. And I liked seeing Travis just have a moment of peace. That was quickly disrupted by Lottie approaching him, but it was just very sweet. And I think the sweet connection between Akila recognizing that Travis needed an outlet of something to calm him down was very nice to see. So that is my number 3 moment.
Andy, now it's your turn. I'm sorry. I'm used to going to you first.
My number 3 is the Truth or Dare. I just love the girls sitting around with their masks on, and the kind of turn that it takes with Callie drugging Misty, and Lottie wants to lay it all out on the table. Like, I love when Callie's like, or Lottie says truth, and then Misty's like, no, you're supposed to say dare. I would like a dare, please. And I don't know. I thought that it's fun. Any scene that Christina Ricci is in is great. And yeah, fun and funny.
My number 3 is just Van doing karaoke like that. That's it. Just that I just love Van.
Any karaoke is going to win you over.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Just any sort of scene where I just love how she's just laying on the couch, like vibing, and it sounds like the speakers playing all throughout the house, and she's like, Taissa, everybody, like she's getting into it. Like Van would be, out of all of the adult Yellowjackets, Van's the one that I would love to hang out with the most.
Totally.
Kit, what about you? Your number 3?
I think I'm going to go with Shauna telling off the bros, the hotel bros. You know, you see it coming a mile away, but I really love that scene. I love the way she delivers it, and you know, kind of where we're at as a society right now. It's definitely like fuck those guys the most, because it's fine if you were born into something nice, but to also pretend like you just made yourself is so annoying. And to shit on somebody like Jeff, who like legitimately had to build his furniture store. It's very satisfying. And knowing too that like, I wish she was a little more openly badass and less reluctant, at least by now, by season 3, because I would like the undertone of also say something and I'll fucking kill you. And we're not there yet. And I think we should be there. I think that would be a better vibe. But I like her telling them off. So that's number 3 for me. Madison, you're number 2?
My number 2 was Andy's number 3, which is the sleepover scene with Misty, Lottie, and Callie. I thought there was a lot of humor. I also really liked, the Fiona Apple playing at the beginning, and just the interplay of Callie trying to get information from Lottie and almost kind of manipulating, like knowing who Misty is as a person and manipulating her to join, by being like, oh yeah, like we have to have a sleepover, you know, kind of leaning into the womanhood element of having a sleepover and stuff, and then drugging her. But
not
yeah,
cool.
Not cool. But yeah, that's my number 2. I thought it was really funny. I liked the bit with they're wearing their face masks. That shit was so funny. I audibly laughed out loud. It was hilarious.
Andy, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Shauna talking shit to the Joels. I love that she calls them the Joels. So Shauna is...
Only one of them is named Joel.
Shauna is for my money, she's the villain of the show. And the show does like put some effort in to kind of make you emotionally run this fine line of sort of being on her side occasionally. And this is one of those moments. And like, it just felt cathartic to like, you know, those are the types of things that you think but never say out loud. Like, you are a fucking NPC, you don't exist. Like, that's it just felt good in the moment. And the guy that plays Joel, or I assume he's Joel. Actually, I don't remember which one's which. But I've only ever seen him in one other thing. It was Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and he plays like,
really?
Pretty much the exact same character of this like fucking douche nepo baby trust fund kid. And I don't know, that guy's typecast, but he plays it so fucking well. Yeah, I love this scene.
Awesome. And Steve, you're number 2.
My number 2 is the sleepover scene with Misty, Lottie, and Callie. For everything that you all just said, I also wanted to point out that like another amazing transformation. We talked about the one with Jeff from season 1 to season 3 is also Callie, because season 1, I think Callie was like by far my least favorite character. Like, I would audibly groan when she showed up. Like, I just did not like Callie as a character at all in the first season. And then fast forward to this season, I'm just kind of like, yeah, Callie, let's do a little sleuthing. I like this junior detective, no holds barred, wants to get to the truth Callie. Willing to throw guts on bullies Callie. Like, I do like this this character change, and just the fact that Misty's there with the tiger mask on, and Lottie is just like vibing, just happy to be out of wherever she was, whatever institution she was in. It was there's a lot of fun energy to the scene, but also there's some dramatic juice to it as well. So it's a effective one. What about you, Kit?
My number 2 is Travis holding Mortimer. I was really surprised at how like emotional that was. And like, the poor fucking guy. Because right before that, there was, I forget who delivered the line. I want to say Taissa or something. But when because we didn't even talk about how he was like choking Lottie, you know, like he was going to kill her. But whoever pulls Lottie off, and Lottie's like trying to fight to get back. No, we need to dig deeper into this. Everything's going great. You know, hasn't he been through enough? You know, is the line. And it's like, Travis has had it the worst, you know. His dad died when he landed, and then he lost Javi. So other than Shauna, you know, those are the 2 people that have really lost anything, because nobody even liked Laura Lee. So they were all like, oh, that sucks. And then they were like, nah. Good it was her, right? If only the bear had stayed and Misty had went, we'd be in great shape. Yeah, so it's when he gets the duck, it's like it just hits. I don't know. I don't know why, but it did for some reason so powerfully for me. Madison, your number one moment of episode 2.
My number one was Shauna and Melissa kissing. Just because it was major shock factor. Was not anticipating it at all. And it was just like with the knife in between both of them, I was like, oh my God. But oh my God, hello. But that is my favorite scene, just because that scene in particular is what made me want to continue to watch. I wonder why. But it was just like high intensity. And also our conversation about how Shauna was feeling, how that type of relationship is coexisting in the world that they're in right now. And yeah, it's just my favorite scene from the show. Most memorable scene from the episode, I'll say.
Andy, your number one.
My number one is Misty arriving at Shauna's house and thinking that it's an intervention. Just the comedy of this hits so fucking hard for me. And she's like, wait, is this an intervention? Do you have a drinking problem? I don't know. Do I? Like, I don't know. Like, just the delivery of everything is fucking awesome. It's also like kind of tragic with the scene right before that where Walter's like, look, your friends just use you. Like, you probably shouldn't answer that call or whatever. And then sure as shit, she shows up and it's like, hey, I actually need you to babysit. Okay, bye. Thanks. Love you. And it's, it's sad, but also fun. Misty is the best character by a mile, and it's so fun.
Steve?
My number one favorite moment is the scene where Shauna tells off the Joels. It's those guys are douchebags who deserve it, and I agree with you, Kit. Like, if they kind of added that extra layer of like, I'll fucking kill you too if you mess with me, like that would make the scene like a million times better. But it was just good to see Shauna get real nasty, get real mean and nasty with these people. Because that's when it's most intriguing, is when the wilderness comes out of Shauna in the present day. So that's my number one. What about you?
I fucked up. I'll be honest. I was setting all of this up to choose Andy's number one as my number one. I truly love the comedic beat of Misty maybe not sure if she has a drinking problem from being drunk once. Do I? Like, and then the callback where, do you have a drinking problem? When she pukes later, like that's all so good. But I forgot to put the kiss on my list of choices, which should have been 5 choices. And I cannot in good conscience not mention the kiss at all. That would be dishonest. And so therefore it has to be my number one. Cause I was watching up here on the monitor. So I was kind of like this, and I definitely did like a, kind of thing. And then I got excited in the group chat. So yeah, that's my number one for sure. It's time to discuss some Honeycombs, any kind of 90s Easter eggs, throwbacks, tids and bits, that kind of shit. I'm sure we've got a few. I've got 4 or 5 of the ones you guys probably also have. We'll just go around real quick and knock them out. Madison.
The only ones that I found were music. I think I mentioned Fiona Apple. Her song "Criminal" was playing during the sleepover, and there was a line where Callie was like, "Hey, I'm kind of sick of this. Can we do something different?" And at first, I thought she was referring to the music.
You were like,
I was like, Callie, don't you dare! Don't you dare!
I've been a bad girl.
Love that song by Fiona.
Oh, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Andy?
We already talked about the music stuff, but the Jamiroquai thing, it fucking was so perfect for me. And I think you were going to bring it up. The lightest feather set is a board. I remember when my sister would have sleepovers, her friends would play that.
That's from The Craft, right? Or is it a thing that they put in The Craft?
It's a thing they put in The Craft.
It's a thing they put in The Craft.
So it was prior to The Craft. That was a thing girls did. It was the lightest feather set is a board. Interesting.
Yes.
Because it was a 1994 movie, right? Or is it 96?
I don't remember.
I just assumed they had watched it. Anyway, interesting.
But I think that phrase has been referenced in, or at least I can only assume it's been referenced in previous things before.
Yeah. And I did not know that. I thought that originated with The Craft, not that that was like a thing. So what is the thing? That if you say that enough times, people will be light as a feather and
it's supposed to be like a
stiff as
teenage
a board.
Teenage like Wiccan thing where like if you
boys sleepovers do that, but it's typically just as stiff as a board.
In here, boys.
But the idea is that as you chant it, the kid you lift them with your fingers. Everybody sits around them and lifts up with 2 fingers, and it's supposed to be like magical that they become really light and you could just lift them. But there's 7 of you sitting around, so it's the science kind of.
So the phrase "light as a feather, stiff as a board" comes from a levitation game that was originated in the 1600s.
Oh,
so
they would get burned at the stake for playing that game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No one plays light as a feather, stiff as a board in my house and isn't burned for it. I've got a non-music honeycomb that I think is very fun, that I was very excited about, and I'm pretty sure this is a honeycomb and hopefully not just a coincidence, because that would be kind of ridiculous. But the line where Shauna says like something along the lines of Joels are the worst, they ruin everything. That's like the line. If you remember, Melanie Linsky also plays a role in The Last of Us where a certain Joel ruined everything for her and her community. And was just the fact that she specifically is saying it was kind of like, oh, I bet they did that on purpose. That's really cool.
Deep cut. That's neat. I like it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm sure that was a callback.
Has to be, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It reminds me of, this isn't really a spoiler. It's in the trailer, but that new movie that just came out, The Gorge, which stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller. There's a scene where there's a montage of them hanging out, and it's got Miles Teller playing drums on all these pots and pans, which is a reference to Whiplash. And then it cuts to Anya Taylor-Joy, and she's playing chess, and it's like Queen's Gambit, which I thought was really cute. But apparently they both wanted those scenes cut from the movie. They didn't think it was cute at all. And I think they kind of resent being known for those 2 roles or whatever, but they were overruled by the Scott Derrickson and the producers, and the fans love it. So they were like, I guess we were wrong, but we think it's for dorks, but whatever. But yeah, I think it's fun when people do that stuff. Good catch. The only music we didn't mention is Candlebox, which was a staple when I was a kid, right? Now, maybe. Everybody sang like that in the 90s.
And Rebel Girl by Bikini Kill is played at the end.
Rebel Girl.
The best needle drop to end this episode on. It was just so
that was good.
Girl. She thinks she's the queen of the neighborhood.
I let the credits play because that's the credits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never do that, but I was just sitting here especially after the fucking kiss, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just having a good old time. Rebel Girl, kissing with knives.
Queen of Hearts plays at one point by Juice Newton and
Juice Newton.
Juice Newton. I hope that's their name, and my autocorrect didn't go rogue on me. And then I don't know if this is the honeycomb, but I just thought it was cute. But Misty's pajamas are Yellowjackets.
Oh, nice!
Oh, really? Cool.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
didn't either.
Buzz, buzz, buzz. That's all the honeycombs that we have. It's time to nominate our buzzworthy performance. Madison, who are you going to give it to?
I am giving it to Christina Ricci this episode. I think she did a really good job with the trying to distract Lottie, the comedy interplay between her, Lottie, Callie, and then also the scene where she came in and it was like, is this an intervention? I just thought it was very well done. Also, the alphabetizing of the spices was very funny to me. And then her communication with Walter had some emotional weight to it. So I think Christina Ricci gets the buzz performance from me for this episode.
Love it. Andy?
Same for all those reasons. And shout out to her playing drunk again, drunk and drugged up when she gets back to the house.
You're even drunker this time. Shut up.
You're bullshit.
Steve?
You're bullshit.
Well, I would love to give it to Christina Ricci because she's amazing, but I'm trying to hold back my Christina Ricci awards because I literally could give it to her every single episode. So I'm going to give it to Steven Kruger, who plays Coach Ben Scott.
Oh, I like that choice.
That's a good choice.
There's one line in particular when Mari's in the hole and she's like, "You burned the cabin down," and you just hear like, "Wait, the cabin's burned down?" Like the concern and like, "Oh fuck, are you guys okay?" Like just for a second, he like snapped back into adult coach charge of these kids mode, and just seeing him kind of struggle with like trying to what he thinks is doing the right thing by helping this young girl, but also being scared for his life because she might get him killed. I think that's an interesting predicament they've put that character in, and I think he did a great job this episode. So I'm going to give it to him.
I love that choice. We also didn't talk about, and I don't want to now, but
So never mind.
they said multiple times that the cabin burned for 12 days or weeks or something crazy. And I don't know if that's because the logs are thick and it would take a while for the fuel, or if it's some kind of, I don't know enough about fire, or if there's some like a supernatural element to what they're saying happened. It's interesting to me because they said like we fed the flames. You know, they talked about like to appease the spirits or whatever. Like they talked about feeding the flames at one point as well, and that's funny to imagine that they were like, "Oh God," and then they just pivoted immediately. I don't know, but they brought it up for a reason. I'm sure that the fact that it burned for so long.
Well, they probably wanted to burn as long as possible because that's the only way
keeping us warm.
Warm, yeah.
Does anybody have any mallows? Wish we had hot chocolate with water because that's how we drink it. Because we're poors. It has to be Christina Ricci. But I love the Coach Scott shout out. I'm going to also shout out young Travis. Kevin, is it Alv or Alves? Alves? I'm going to go Alves. But yeah.
Alves.
I think his performance is great. Shout out to Kevin. We'll leave it simple. But Christina Ricci is my choice. A 3 out of 4. Everybody. We most everybody.
Nice.
We tried everybody.
We tried, everybody. Fuck you, Steve. That brings our coverage of Yellowjackets episode 2 to a close on the Patreon at patreon.com/streamingthings. Reminder, we're still covering Game of Thrones. Arcane is full swing into season 2. It'll be Act 2 coming up soon. All kinds of good stuff over there on the Patreon feeds, but also our Severance coverage is every Friday, Yellowjackets every Monday. You can email the show at streamingthingspod@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. That's all the time we've got for right now. We've got to go return some videotapes. My name is Kit.
My name's Madison.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Streaming Things, streaming Yellowjackets.
Happy streaming!